The fate of this series has already been sealed. The winner of this trophy has already been decided. But there's still plenty to play for Pakistan. Will they be able to retain their #1 ICC ODI rankings? Will Babar Azam make his 100th ODI a memorable one?
Well, we've seen some gripping cricketing action throughout the month. We've seen New Zealand fight back in the T20 series, and then later on in the ODI series with Fakhr Zaman and Babar Azam showing class, taking the team to the #1 ODI ranking. Will they be able to retain that? Well, we'll have to find out. It's 4-0 right now. It's been a great cricketing festival time. Aur aap sabko cricket Mubarak.
That's it. Game's done. Pakistan go #1 in the world in one-day international cricket ratings.
This was the glorious moment when Pakistan became the #1 ODI team in the ICC rankings for the first time in its cricketing history. Leading its ascent to the top has been the captain himself, the relentless run machine. The pressures of captaincy have not slowed him down. In the last game, Babar Azam kept his date with the record books to become the quickest to 5,000 ODI runs.
18 one-day international hundreds for Babar Azam. He's passed 5,000 ODI runs, the fastest man to do so in the history of the game.
Can he make his 100th ODI a memorable one? Also a hero in this momentous journey has been Fakhr Zaman, enjoying a purple patch, scoring 3 back-to-back ODI hundreds.
Absolutely superb from Fakhr Zaman. His 10th century in one-day internationals.
A key recipe for success has been the poster boys of Pakistan cricket, the speed demons with the ball.
Cleaned him up.
They have been ruthless, hunting down batsmen with pace and guile.
Pulled him. Naseem Shah has to.
After a spirited performance in the T20s, New Zealand have struggled in the ODIs. There were moments of brilliance from them, but they fell short against a clinical Pakistan team. Pakistan need to win today to retain their #1 ODI ranking. Can New Zealand spoil the party tonight for the home team? The series is decided, but there is a lot at stake as the curtain comes down on an exciting cricket series.
Back in Karachi for the 5th one-day international, extremely hot but windy conditions. And we are live from the National Bank Stadium. It's the Dafa News presents KFC ODI series between Pakistan and New Zealand. Hello and welcome to Inverex Solar Energy Pitchside Show. Now, Pakistan have a chance to retain that #1 ranking. If they do lose today, they drop to #3. Whereas New Zealand, well, they'll be, playing for pride more than anything else because they have been beaten down 4-0. So there's a lot to play for. And then there's also that 100th one-day international for Babar Azam that we'll see him in today. So a lot at stake in terms of rankings, in terms of a lot is going on otherwise as well. I've been joined by Arooj Mumtaz and David Elliott. That's what I'm going to call you today. Every time it's going to be something different, so this time it's just going to be David Elliott. Arooj, yeah, so the trophy's already been decided who it's going to. Everything in that regard and in regards with the outcome is decided. But there are other things that we're looking at. We celebrated that #1 ranking that day, but it would be, it would be quite sad to see that just after a day, if they end up losing, they slip down to that #3 spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the bigger gain here is to retain that #1 spot and sort of grab it with both hands and tell the world that is our spot. Pakistan #1 and stays #1. It's almost easier sometimes to get to a certain position. The difficulty comes in terms of retaining that spot. So for Pakistan, yes, a couple of days of glory, but the icing on the cake would surely be for them to grab it and stay there.
David, if in terms of New Zealand, are they looking to salvage some pride? I mean, how do they approach the last one-day international of this tour?
Oh, I'm putting myself in the position of the players at the moment and thinking, okay, well, if I was on this tour, obviously there's personal milestones. So you think of it from a personal point of view. There's the World Cup to play for. So there's some players here that are still playing for spots. But I would love to ruin the party, to be honest. The team Pakistan are on a high. They've just gone to #1. I'd love to finish with a win. And New Zealand, I know they've got a lot of pride. And these players here, a lot of them, it's, you know, their debut tour. So they'll want to create a little bit of noise out there today, and don't think that New Zealand have got one foot on the plane and that they're ready to go home. They're going to fight today.
From a personal perspective, you know, we're talking about personal milestones. It's a 100 one-day international for Babar Azam. From ball boy, you know, ball picker, I'm sure everybody's seen that clip in which he's the ball boy to coming this far, to becoming a world phenomenon, Rooj. It's been quite a journey.
It's been incredible. If there's one word that you can put to it, it's been spectacular. It's been incredible. He tops the charts in terms of runs, strike rate, averages. Now the captain of the side that is now for the first time in the history of one-day cricket has led Pakistan to the #1 ranking. He is ranked #1 in the world in terms of one-day cricket batters in the world. So there is plenty that he's already achieved. Can he finish off with a big ton in the winning cause on the 100 game like he did a few weeks ago in the T20 version of it as well? Would be probably something like, again, spectacular multiplied by as many times as he won. But I think from a personal point of view, yes, he still does cop out certain amounts of criticism. The one thing between being where he is and to be the absolute legend of the game, he's still got a long way to go. And I'm pretty sure he'll probably end up with one of the legends eventually when he does call time.
I like what Aruj said there. She said big hundreds. And I think, you know, big hundreds, I actually think that the 100 he scored in the last game, I reckon he could have scored another 30, 40 runs because he leaves a little bit in the tank. So I think he could have finished with 140 rather than, you know, just an early 100. So I think that he can back himself through the middle and push this Pakistan team to an even higher level because they came off the park with 330 runs, but I thought maybe they could have got 360, 370.
All right, there is always room for improvement. You might be the greatest player in the world, but there's always room for improvement. And the best thing about seeing Babar Azam is that he has managed to do that. He has managed to evolve as a player, as a captain. Because we're talking about Babar Azam, let's hear his thoughts now in Star Talk.
Star Talk, brought to you by Inverex Solar Energy.
जब पहली कॉल आई थी तो काफ़ी एक्साइटमेंट थी कि पाकिस्तान टीम में सिलेक्ट हुए हैं और फैमिली के साथ ही बैठे हुए थे घर में तो फ़ोन आया था कि टीम में नाम मतलब आपको पता है रूमर्स चल रहे होते हैं तब तो थोड़ा सा आइडिया था लेकिन जब ऑफिशियल कॉल आई तो वो एक एक्साइटमेंट ही काफ़ी अलग थी तो उससे काफ़ी खुशी मिली और घर वाले भी काफ़ी खुश हुए तो पहली बार जब एज अ पाकिस्तानी प्लेयर स्टेडियम में एंटर हुआ तो मुझे अपनी वो जर्नी याद आ गई जब मैं बॉल पिकर बन के आया था और जब मैं मेरे ख्याल से एनजी भाई का लास्ट टेस्ट मैच था साउथ अफ्रीका के अगेंस्ट तो मैं बॉलिंग में करने आया था उस टाइम पाकिस्तान टीम को तो वो वाली जर्नी जो है वो मुझे याद आई थी वो बहुत मेमोरेबल चीज़ें थी मेरे लिए कि मैं उस टाइम पे बॉलिंग करने आ रहा था और अब मैं पाकिस्तानी प्लेयर बन के और पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा बना साउथ अफ्रीका में थी हमारी ट्रायंगल सीरीज़ थी और मेरी तायब की तबीयत भी काफ़ी उनको कैंसर था और मुझे सुबह 5 बजे फ़ोन आया था कि उनकी डेथ हो गया सुबह मैच भी था तो वो मेरे लिए काफ़ी मुश्किल टाइम था क्योंकि उनके साथ हमारी बॉन्डिंग काफ़ी थी और काफ़ी प्यार था उनका तो उन्होंने भी क्रिकेट में काफ़ी सपोर्ट की और काफ़ी हमें वो गलियों में हम जो सैटरडे नाइट क्रिकेट खेलते थे वो सारा जो वो माहौल वही बनाते थे सबको इकट्ठा करना फिर हमें सब कज़नों को इकट्ठा करना और फिर मैच खेलना तो उसमें भी उन्होंने बहुत हेल्प की और मेरे बैट्स मुझे याद है कि वो मेरे बैट्स भी हमारे कभी भी मैंने बैट बाहर नहीं दिया था जब भी मेरा ख़राब हो वही ठीक करके देते तो वो मेरे लिए काफ़ी शॉकिंग न्यूज़ थी और बच्चे थे तो अब्बा जी ने मैंने कहा मैंने वापस आना है मेरे से नहीं खेला जाएगा तो अब्बा जी ने कहा नहीं आप खेलो पाकिस्तान के लिए आपने खेलना और पाकिस्तान के लिए सर्व करो तो वो मेरे लिए काफ़ी मुश्किल टाइम था देखिए फैमिली के काफ़ी सेक्रीफाइसेस होते हैं, ये नहीं कि माँ बाप के, मेरे भाइयों के, मेरे कज़नों के, वो जितने भी हम इकट्ठे रहते हैं तो उनका काफ़ी सेक्रीफाइस है। बिल्कुल, जब मैंने ट्वीट की थी कि मेरा पहला बैट जो था, मैंने अब्बा जी को बोला कि मुझे बैट चाहिए, तो उनको कहा मेरे पास पैसे नहीं हैं। तो मामा ने कहा कि आप मेरे पास हैं, मेरे पास मैंने कुछ जोड़े हुए हैं। ये तकरीबन कोई उस टाइम पे मुझे अगर 4,000-5,000 रुपीज़ थे मेरे ख्याल से। तो उसके मैंने जाके वो बैट और मैंने पूरी किट खरीदी थी। उस बैट से मैं काफ़ी देर खेला हूँ, मैंने काफ़ी 2 साल 3 साल में उससे खेला। बहुत सारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आ जाती हैं आप पे। पहले जब आप एज अ प्लेयर खेलते हैं, आप सिर्फ बैटिंग और फील्डिंग का सोचते हैं, आप इतना उसमें आप अपने आप को ज़्यादा चीज़ों में इन्वॉल्व नहीं करते। तो इसमें जब आप पाकिस्तान की कप्तानी करते हैं और फिर आपको हर प्ले को लेकर चलना पड़ता है, आपने प्लेयर्स का ख्याल रखना, मैनेजमेंट का ख्याल रखना है, फिर मीडिया, फिर PCB, सबको आपके साथ मीटिंग्स होनी है, फिर आपने उसको लेकर चलना। पहले साल थोड़ा सा स्ट्रगल हुआ, लेकिन आहिस्ता से इन चीज़ों को डेवलप किया। देखें, एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था और ना सोचा था कि इतने रिकॉर्ड बन जाएंगे और तोड़ेंगे। देखें, ये तो अल्लाह कराता है और अल्लाह ही कहते हैं कि अपनी मेहनत करते रहो, कराने वाला अल्लाह, और मैं इस पर बिलीव रखता हूँ, अल्लाह ही कराता है। तो आप लोग ही बताते हैं कि ये रिकॉर्ड टूट गया या ये टूट गया, तो उसमें मैं अल्लाह का शुक्र अदा करता हूँ कि ये कर दिया। एम और गोल अब यही है कि जो आगे वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है उसमें ट्रॉफी उठाएं। अब वो गोल और एम यही है।
Star Talk, brought to you by Inverix Solar Energy.
It's always nice to hear about the struggles of somebody who's made it right at the top, and then you've got all the records there. You talk about his glittering ODI career. He was ICC Men's ODI Cricketer of the Year in 21 and 22. Highest batting average as well in ODI history. As captain, his average has, if anything, only improved. Fastest to 5,000 runs, the only batter to score 3 centuries in a row, twice in one-day internationals, and has captained Pakistan to that #1 spot in the ODI rankings. It's historical for Pakistan because that's something that's never happened to Arooj. I mean, we've spoken about how he has become better as a batsman, but he spoke about this in his interview that there was a time when they didn't have money to even buy a bat. And these are the things that make you admire a cricketer who's sort of made it to the top, because it's really all about the struggles. And when you hear something like that, and when you look at him now, he is a completely self-made man.
And the admiration is probably more because even now, with all of those stats, all of those numbers and what he's already achieved, he is still so humble and grounded. I think that there's quality of the man that he is. With the cricket, with the batter, with the captaincy, there will always be a room of improvement. But I think just the class of the man he is and the way he speaks, I think he's very well grounded. So those stories, it sort of always give you goosebumps, whether you can relate to them or not, but you sort of emotionally connect at some point.
All right, these are stories which are extremely inspiring for all the youth that's out there, that if he can do it, they can as well. If you've got that talent and you've managed to sort of make your way through, and you can only improve from there on. That's what we all love about Babar Azam. She also spoke about humility, which is an important aspect. We've seen that with the Kiwis. Very, very humble, always extremely humble. But it's just great to see his journey and how he's evolved over the years. We're ready with the toss now, so it's over to Sikandar Bakht, who's out there with the 2 captains.
Toss and pitch report brought to you by Inverix Solar Energy.
Hello and welcome to the 5th and final ODI here in Karachi, the last game of the season. A lot of action this year and at the end of 2022. We've had a lot of fun here. Now this game, all important, Pakistan would like to make it 5-0 and New Zealand would like to take a game home. Got our match referee Chris Broad alongside me. Babar Azam, Tom Latham are also present. Babar, you have the coin.
Heads.
Heads is the call.
It is a head.
And it is a head. 3 in a row for Tom. Tom, Anything different, or you still would like to chase?
No, we're going to have a bet today. Obviously, it's a used surface that we used a few days ago, so we're looking forward to getting out there first, and hopefully we can put on a performance that we're proud of to finish the series.
Key things that you notice about this surface? It was the one where you played the third game. Something to look out for?
Yeah, I just think the nature of it being a used surface, we've seen the last couple of games it's probably turned a little bit more than we expected in the evening, so I think the nature of it, having its second game on it, then hopefully we might get a little bit of turn later.
How about the 11 keeping the surface in mind?
So we've got a few injuries actually, but Henry Nichols, Rachin Ravindra, Adam Milne and Henry Shipley come into the side.
You still have quite a bit of ODI cricket coming up after this, but still, things shaping up for that big tournament later in the year?
Yeah, you're right. Obviously there's a little bit of an eye on that World Cup, but for us it's always been about trying to focus on these games as much as we can, and I guess with it being a few months away, obviously once this series finishes, then I guess the focus will turn to that a little bit more, but with us it's probably the last chance we get in these probably similar conditions, so guys are looking forward to having another opportunity.
Well, good luck to you, Tom.
I'd just also like to acknowledge the Crocker family. Lindsay Crocker, who used to, played a big part in New Zealand cricket, unfortunately passed away overnight, so thoughts are with his family.
Okay.
Cheers, thank you.
Babar, happy to chase over here?
To be honest, yes. As we know, second time they're much better wicket, so yes. But if we won the toss, we are also batting first,
okay,
because of today's pitch look like much better than last two matches. So yeah, but we will try to take early wickets and put pressure on them.
ड्यू इतना रोल प्ले नहीं कर रही यहाँ पे पिछले दो मैचेस जो हुए हैं, तो कितना लगता है आपको चेजेबल होगा सेकंड टाइम अराउंड अगर नहीं आता ड्यू?
इतना कोई इफेक्ट नहीं कर रहा ड्यू, सेकंड टाइम इतना हैवी वाला ड्यू नहीं पड़ा, नॉर्मली पड़ा, और वो भी लेटर ऑन जाके, क्योंकि ऐसा डिफरेंस नहीं आ रहा कंडीशंस में, तो मेरे ख्याल से अंडर द लाइट्स यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा अच्छा बॉल आता है और अच्छा बैट्समैनों के लिए हेल्प होता है, तो इंशाल्लाह भी कंटिन्यू दैट मोमेंटम इन द बैटिंग साइड आल्सो.
दो चीज़ें माइंड में होंगी टीम के, एक तो 5-0 वाइट वॉश एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ है, दूसरा ओडीआई रैंकिंग को पकड़ के रखना है, तो कुछ डिफरेंट प्रेशर वर्ड तो यूज़ नहीं करूंगा मैं, बट ये है माइंड में.
ऑफ कोर्स हम इस चीज़ को माइंड में रख रहे हैं, लेकिन कोशिश हमारी है कि जो हमारा मोमेंटम और जो हम अच्छा कर रहे हैं उसको मज़ीद अच्छा करें, और स्टेप बाय स्टेप चीज़ों को लेके चलें बिल्कुल, और कोशिश हमारी है कि 5-0 करें और इसको रैप अप अच्छे नोट पे करें.
अच्छे नोट को याद आया, 100th ओडीआई है आपका, आज 100वां गेम है. ग्रेट फीलिंग, ग्रेट अचीवमेंट. आई होप दैट यू गेट अ बिग स्कोर टुडे फॉर योरसेल्फ.
इंशाल्लाह. First of all, honor for me to present 100 matches for Pakistan, and I'm lucky, and thanks all my fans, my family, PCB, and especially teammates. They always support me and back me, so I will looking forward to this match.
सबसे important चीज़ टीम में changes.
एक changes है, शादाब आया हारिस की जगह.
चलिए, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Latham wants to bat first over here. I've got Butch alongside me. Butch knows this surface more than anyone, so run us through.
Well, Sikander, first and foremost, I'm extremely pleased for the New Zealand bowlers that they're going to get the chance to put their feet up in the heat here this afternoon and watch their batters come out and play on this surface. Now, this was the pitch that was used in the first one-day international here in Karachi, but match 3 of the series. It looks very, very little different in terms of how it looked a couple of days ago. The only difference to me is underneath the palm. So the palm of my hand being rubbed across this surface here, it's sort of like sandpaper. It's a little bit grippy. Pakistan have now got 2 leg spinners in their team, and of course at the back end of the previous one-day international we saw their quicks get a little bit of reverse swing as well, and I think that is going to be a factor. Will the scores be 320? I don't think so. I think we're looking at around about 300, 290 to 300 here. And the difficulty, I suppose, for both batting lineups, I think, is going to be the fact that the ball will reverse. We will get that little bit of action from the quick bowlers at the back end. So perhaps scoring in the last 7-8 overs might not be straightforward. You might want to put your foot down a little bit earlier than that.
Same pitch. We saw a bit of variable bounce from that end, but the groundsman says this is going to play a little proper. We will not misbehave.
But I don't think it's going to misbehave. It might be a little bit low. The ball might come at the batsman a little bit more rather than bounce at them. The spinners we've seen over the course of the 2 matches here so far have actually got a little bit of joy. And so for Pakistan, despite the fact that they would have liked to have batted first, I still think that their spinners will have a real part to play in restricting things for New Zealand as they try to accelerate through the middle. So look, I think it's a terrific surface. It hasn't changed a great deal, but there will be perhaps a little bit more in terms of degrees of spin, and the bowlers might get a little bit of something as the ball gets older.
Quick one, 290 as Tom Latham, you'll be happy?
I think he would want to be 300, closer to 300, but 290, 280, 290 is going to be par. The difficulty is going to be knowing when to put your foot on the accelerator and how easy that is going to be as the ball gets older.
All right, 5th and final game. New Zealand is batting first.
Toss and pitch report brought to you by Inverex Solar Energy.
Yeah, after a series of defeats, New Zealand has now won the toss and they've decided to bat first. We've been seeing them winning tosses and electing to bowl first, but there's been a few changes in both sides as well. Thank you so much, Mr. David Elliott. We'll let you go now because you need to get back to the commentary box. And on the other side, we'll be joined by Butch to talk about the teams. Back on the Inverex Solar Energy pitch side show, and the news from the centre is that New Zealand have won the toss and they have elected to bat first. There's been a couple of changes for them. In fact, 4 changes for them. There's also been a change in our studio. I've now been joined by Mr. Mark Butcher. Butch, good to have you here. The big news from the New Zealand camp is that Daryl Mitchell is not playing today.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why. It could be a case of him being rested. I don't think New Zealand are all that fussed really at the moment in time. They're trying to make sure everybody gets a chance, everybody gets a game. They're 4-0 down in the series. Other changes, Blair Tickner, he's a bit sore and stiff, not surprised after his captain asked to bowl first again on Friday. Adam Milne comes back in. That'll be very handy for New Zealand. His death bowling in particular. I think the ball might reverse swing here, so he has that sort of short, skinny trajectory, so he might be useful. Henry Nicholls in for Jimmy Neesham. He might have a little bit of an ankle problem, and then Rachin Ravindra is back in the side, who offers that little bit of something with left arm spin, and is also a very talented left-handed ball striker. He'll come in. Well, he probably won't bat at number 3 where Daryl Mitchell is, but Henry Nicholls might well move up, or Latham might knock up the order a little bit.
All right, Pakistan. Let's have a look at Pakistan because we've got Shadab Khan coming back, Rooj, and we'll be seeing 2 leggies in action today.
Brilliant. I've been calling for 2 leggies for a while. Let them bowl in tandem and see where they end up. But this is good, Shadab. I think this is more around them rotating and managing workload. Imam was again sitting out. Shan Masood stays in. So that's one of the changes which continue from the game previous to this. But then Shadab comes in for Mohammad Haris. I just feel Haris deserved a second go, if nothing else. But that's the way Pakistan are operating, which is fine. But I just thought Haris could have done with another outing. But again, a very, very strong side. And like Butch said, for New Zealand, it's probably going to be just about coming out and having some fun. And for Pakistan's sake, they will hope they don't have too much.
Butch, you were there out in the heat in those conditions. I mean, is it looking any different to what you've seen so far?
No. I mean, it's unbelievable, really. Some of the Kiwi guys were looking at the surface and thinking, wow, did we really play on that sort of 3 or 4 days ago? Because there's barely a mark on it. The only thing is, as I said in the pitch report, under the touch, it's sort of sandpaper feel to it. So it's quite abrasive. So as the ball gets older, it will reverse. It might well spin as well, grip for the spinners, which might just bring the scores down a bit. For New Zealand, the key for them is going to be, what is going to be a par score here? If we can get to 290, perhaps, that might give us enough. If they fall short of that, then Pakistan will fancy themselves.
Absolutely. We're talking about the conditions being extremely hot and windy, but one thing that hasn't deterred anyone is actually the fans. They still have been coming out, perhaps not in the same numbers as we saw in Pindi, but they've been coming out to support their stars. It's time for Gupshup with Mehak.
Well, we're here in National Stadium, Karachi, where it is the last day of the series and this tour, and Pakistan are now the #1 ODI team in the world. Let's see if they can sustain this by winning more matches, but for now, I'd say let's soak in this amazing achievement with the fans and see what they have to say. आपको लगता है कि पाकिस्तान अपनी अच्छी परफॉर्मेंस आज भी कंटिन्यू रख सकेगी आज के मैच में और न्यूजीलैंड को वाइट वॉश कर सकेगी?
इंशाल्लाह, क्योंकि हमें अपनी टीम की मेहनत पे बहुत भरोसा है, क्योंकि अल्लाह ने जो प्रीवियस मैच थे उसमें भी हेल्प की है और हमारी मेहनतों को देख के तो इंशाल्लाह आज तो डेफिनेटली है कि आज की मैच भी हमारी ही होगी।
अच्छा, पूरी दुनिया में पाकिस्तान अब ODIs में नंबर 1 हो गई है बाबर आजम की कैप्टनसी के अंडर, तो इसके बारे में आपको कैसा फील हो रहा है?
जी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, सबसे पहले तो अल्लाह का शुक्र है जो नंबर 1 पे आए हैं और वर्ल्ड कप भी आ रहा है, तो इस हिसाब से हम काफ़ी एक्साइटेड हैं। पाकिस्तान नंबर 1 पे आई है क्योंकि वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है इस हिसाब से, और जो जिस हिसाब से पाकिस्तान प्लेयर फॉर्म में है तो हिसाब से आई थिंक पाकिस्तान वर्ल्ड कप में अच्छा कर सकता है और अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह खुशी है इस बार।
इस आखिरी मैच की प्रेडिक्शन क्या है आपकी?
जैसा कि पहले 4 मैचेस हुए हैं ODI के, पाकिस्तान जीतता आ रहा है, इतने अच्छे रन्स और इतना अच्छा टारगेट दिया उन्होंने। आज की भी उम्मीद है कि वो अच्छा खेलेंगे और इंशाल्लाह जीतेंगे, क्लीन स्वीप कर देंगे।
तो आप किसको सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं और आपका फेवरेट प्लेयर कौन सा है?
ऑफ कोर्स पाकिस्तान को ही सपोर्ट करेंगे और
किसी भी टीम से भी आप अपना फेवरेट प्लेयर चूज कर सकते हैं।
फेवरेट हमेशा बाबर आजम।
All right, well, you heard it here from the fans, but let's see if Pakistan can continue their winning streak and keep that number 1 possession, or will the Kiwis come out and try to escape from being whitewashed in this series? Well, we'll have to watch and find out.
Thanks, Mehek. There's always areas of improvement that one can look at. But you look at the scoreline, Pakistan is in a dominating position. But if they were to reflect and sort of really dissect where they can, where they need to improve, what would that be?
Look, we've spoken endlessly about the middle order and the sort of, the slowing down towards milestones, perhaps when Babar's batting, but also then the pressure that puts on the guys behind them. In the previous one-day international, 126 runs were scored in 83 balls by numbers 5, 6, 7 and 8. So that was Salman with 58 from 46, Iftikhar with 28 from 22. He really got things going after a relatively slow start while Babar was making his way to the 100. Mohamed Harris, who's sitting out today, unfortunately, was 17 from 8, and then Shaheen with 23 from 7. So it's that kind of acceleration, that kind of power that if you put the right players in the 11 will give you give you those sorts of finishes in the final 10, and that's something that I think if Pakistan can get that right, if they can get the right personnel in those positions in the engine room, then they are going to be a very, very tough side to beat.
Should Pakistan have that strategy of having a floating middle order? We've seen that with England and some other teams as well.
I think we've spoken again at this at length as well that Pakistan sometimes seems too rigid. They don't play the context of the situation of the game at the moment. Once they're given a plan, they sort of just stick to it rather than having people float around. They did that in the T20s at times, but I just feel they're still a little bit rigid in rather than playing the situation that they have at hand. And then obviously then also not having the people to play that situation. So there's a couple of things they can probably tweak. They did show that in the last game. Now, one last opportunity to get all the jigsaw puzzles right in case the future in terms of bilateral series or Asia Cup doesn't pan out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your thoughts, Rooj and Butch. It's always a pleasure to have you guys on the show. And yeah, New Zealand has won the toss and they have elected to bat first. It is an opportunity for them to finish the tour at least on a winning note. From a Pakistan perspective, they can experiment a little bit, but they will be eyeing that spot to retain that number 1 ODI ranking spot. That's the most important thing for them today, just to be able to sustain that. And all of that after the short break, so don't go anywhere.